This is the MTpredictor weekly market update for April 7th. So we've gotten the first quarter of 2013 out of the way. It's come and gone. So how did we do? Well, overall, interestingly, the Russell 2000 outperformed all the other markets. It was up almost, just over 12%, and followed right behind there. The Dow was up about 11.25%. Interestingly, the NASDAQ, well, the S&P was up 10%, and then the NASDAQ was really lagging, even though it was still up almost 6%. It was the laggard, and we'll see that on the charts here in a minute. So the first quarter in the books. Thing to watch also is the fact that the small caps, the Russell here, is outperforming your larger caps. Just something to take note of. We've seen this before in some of, prior to some of the other market tops. Nothing to get alarmed about at this point, but just something to keep the eye on. The top performing sectors were healthcare, which should make sense if you've gotten your health insurance premium bill in the mail, as I did, which increased 30% over last year. So it's no wonder healthcare was one of the leading sector of the quarter, fall right behind by the consumer staples. Healthcare was up over almost 16%, and consumer staples about 14.5% there. So no wonder. But anyway, another thing I want to point out is this is the VIX on the weekly chart. The volatility here, we came into, as we talked about before, this area I've got sectioned off is a area of support. In other words, low volatility or complacency in here, and we can see as the VIX comes into this area, we tend to get those high volume spikes, and we do in fact have a weekly decision point buy signal here in the VIX. And I just think there's associated with an ABC pattern here. But we're in a period of low volatility complacency that should be increasing now, and we're starting to see that. And so you can see if this spikes up to the target there, it'd be around 24, 25 in the VIX there. So we can anticipate that volatility should increase in the coming weeks. If we look at the markets here, let's just start with the Dow, as it's been the strong one here, and as the STF shows here that it was getting into this strength band at the top, telling us there was more upside ahead. The Dow is pushed to that 14,600 level, got as high as 610 on the June contract here, and that in itself is a nice round number resistance area. And you see the major weekly decision point resistance, that kind of next stop, if you will be right around 14,680, 685 area, and then another round number 14,800. But you see there's a very large area here, and as we looked at before, all the way up to 16,000 is that projected trend line off the broadening formation, which is a topping pattern. So we've got plenty of room to the upside. I mean, we do have this major resistance here, and again, this would be an area in here where we would anticipate the market correct, as it did, in this area when it hit this level of decision point resistance. So watch for that. If we get up into that 14,800 area, I think I said it was. Let's see. I'm sorry, 14,700, right around there. The potential for a correction will come into play again. We did get a red seller's candle telling us the sellers are overcoming the buyers here, but we do have that 14,600 level, so it is a kind of round number resistance level. But with this major resistance just above there, I do think that they'll try to shoot for that. Again, we are certainly due for a correction. In the S&P, it did work its way here through this decision point resistance area from the weekly chart. Again, this is an area that goes way back a couple years by off the highs from the tops before the crash of 2008. And so we talked about that 1560 area in the S&P that it would need to get through. I think we did closed at 1562.75 a couple weeks ago. We did trade above that last week, and so that typically tells us that there's more upside ahead. Though we closed the week with a red seller's candle. Again, still showing some strength on the STF. Just touching the gray band there. Doesn't mean that they can't pull back here. What we'd want to watch, and again on the YM as well, is if they do pull back, if the STF stays into the strength band as they pull back, that would tell us that there's more potential upside ahead. So, and then the pattern-wise here, we just have this ABC pattern, so we don't have any other kind of topping pattern here. So this is potentially pointing for higher prices, but and then the on-balance volume here, we've been tracking that just to make sure that the volume is still supporting the price action. It is no real divergence or anything happening there, so we'll see. Just kind of a little hiccup here, but we've seen that in these areas, and the overall trend is still up and supported. So, but the NQ again tends to be continues to be the problem child here. Apologize for all these little levels here. We'll look at the 3-minute chart of the NQ. Those are the DP levels from the 15-minute chart. I'll show you how well they work. Let's just take a look at the pattern again. So this was that potential wave 2 area that was an area of concern until they did close above that, and then that high. Remember we talked about that level of 28.17. If they could trade above that, which they did, then that would, should get us a test of this prior wave 5 swing high, which the NQ, all the other markets have, blasted through those areas, but the NQ has just failed to be able to take that area out. And we saw the quarterly return, even though the NQ is positive, it's lagging the rest of the markets, including the Russell. So closed with a nice fat red seller's candle, telling us the sellers are overcoming the buyers here. But again, they took out that level we were looking at prior, which leads me to believe that we do have more upside ahead. Again, who knows what news can come out, here or abroad that can change things pretty quickly. But we've already warned, for weeks now to protect the longs against potential corrections. We've kind of worked our way through those initial correction areas, but still, as the market is at some of these markets at new highs or all-time highs, it'd be wise to continue to be vigilant in protecting those longs. And so we should get a test of this high. We'll see. And then the decision point, again, just above that 2900 area would be the next level if the NQ can take out that prior swing high here. Again, which, we'll have to wait and see how they do there. All right, on to well, let's take a look at silver, since I've got the chart up here. Weekly chart of silver. You can see the descending triangle that's formed there. This was a major wave 5 top, of course, that $50 level, major level that we saw back in 1980, and we've certainly corrected now. We've got this descending triangle here. It's finding support. You can see there's an area of demand in here, and it shot up into that wave 5, and each time that it's tested that same level, buyers have stepped in and supported the price. However, each high here, each successive high has been lower and lower. And so, we'll get a break out of this triangle one way or the other. Typically on a descending triangle like this, the break is to the downside, but not always. So we'll watch that. We're in that support area again. So this is either going to be a great buying opportunity ahead of a move back to the top of the trend line here, and then maybe a break. Again, that break, they've got to take out these prior swings and close above them to start changing this picture here. Otherwise, we can get another move here if we don't get a new high and just a roll back over. Kind of a false breakout and then roll back down. So we'll see. So again, this has been a good buying opportunity, even if for a swing trade or something. And so we'll keep an eye on this. We do have a blue buyer's candle with a high volume spike here, telling us that professionals may be stepping in. We'll see how the week closes this week. And pattern-wise, just a little three-wave pattern here. We could actually project up wave 4 and see where that resistance level. So it would be just beyond the descending trend line here. Would be the wave 4 target, and then we'll have to see if that holds. We can get another leg down, wave 5. So interesting. And then of course, if we look at gold, let me do the continuous contract on this. Oops. That should be it. And I'm just going to add some more data to this. So we talked about gold. Since the 9/11 basically has been in a bull market. Here was the crash of 2008, which became a major buying opportunity there. This was down around the 200 period moving average, which I don't have on here at the moment, but some very good opportunities for buys. And again, similar picture to silver. Of course, these markets silver's more volatile and is a smaller market here, but these levels are a little less precise than the silver chart we're looking at, but we've got a little more room to work here as well. But again, gold coming down into that area where we had this area of demand in here, and you can see the prices shot out of that area, and as it's come back into that area, has found support. But again, the trend of the peaks here has been to the downside. So we'll see how this gets resolved. Again, this has strength to the downside on the STF here, so got to be careful of that. And we'll see if this ends up being a good buying opportunity, even for a swing trade back to the. Let's see if there's any pattern here. Might have another little wave 3 there. Yep. And so let's just project up wave 4. Again, just using the tools in the software with a couple clicks. Gives us the wave 4 target, which will start. That's just above 1600, around 1620 area in gold. So if we get into this area, maybe coincides with the top of the trend line here, or the bottom of the trend line here, and then wave 5 down, maybe retest this area again. So we'll keep an eye on that. But again, this will get resolved one way or the other. It's this. I think we're going on one of the longest consolidation periods since this, certainly since this bull market began, but even probably going back further than that. So this will get resolved. Let's look at the dollar index. Again, here was that major buying opportunity in the dollar. We haven't gotten to the target yet, but this is the area where your Jim Rogers and those folks were buying just because everybody else was selling the dollar, so they figured it was time to buy. A nice little high volume spike came in there, telling us that professionals may be stepping in there, and they were. Again, we've come off this kind of little W pattern here, but not quite to that 85.06 target. So we'll see. Just see I think we are just beyond that resistance level, and of course the next really resistance level. This was the kind of last swing into the low here, and the decision point here is also what the software sees as the target. So if we found support here, this is typically the area where they'll correct back to. So we'll look for that area, continue to look for that area, and we'll see. So obviously if the dollar was rising, then we should see the euro, just going to look at the pair here, falling, and that was our TS4 sell signal we had a number of weeks ago that we looked at. 100% initial risk line has been achieved, so if you happen to be short this, you can move your stop to break even on the bigger time frame here at 34.11 or whatever your entry was on that. And we'll see if it again, this little B swing, we can take our decision point off the B swing, and that gives us the next support level there. So we'll see. Expect that there'll be support here. If you haven't moved your stop down and we do get to this area, it can be an area where you might consider taking some profit, or at least move your stop down to break even at that point, because we should get a bounce if we do come down into this 25-30 area in the euro there. All right, and finally, let's keeping track of Apple here. Here's the daily chart. Again, remember, it broke the daily trend line. Go back here a little bit. Broke the trend line, which obviously is a bullish sign. We had a decision point buy signal, but it wasn't just a decision point buy signal. We also had a 5-wave pattern down, and so typically these will correct back to the wave for DP. Now the software knows what that is the target, so I put the analysis on the trade setup. You see that $493 level there. Okay, call it the $500 level. That's the high end, right in the middle of the target. Would be the target for that. But you see how it came up and then just kind of faltered. It's still above that trend line, but I believe, did we get down to 4? No, we haven't quite gotten down. If you were trading this if you happen to actually be long this, you'd have your stop to break even, so you'd be stopped on that as it achieved the 100% initial risk line. If you still happen to be holding, I think the low there was 419.68, so hadn't taken the initial stop out yet. But again, this is the danger on the weekly chart that we're seeing. This was kind of the last hope on the daily chart, because the weekly chart of Apple does not look good. It went wave 5 up, and again we expect it's going to correct back to the wave 4 DP. That's just a tendency. It did that, got to close below that area. So we want to see if this area holds as support, then the trend, which was up prior, should continue up. But when they start taking this level out to the downside, the danger is then that they're going to wipe this whole 5-wave pattern up. They're going to wipe it out. So we go to the top of wave 1, go to the bottom of wave 1, take our decision point tool here. All right, and this gives us the next major level of support, which is a ways down here around the top of that box, right around 260, 261 or so, which obviously would just about cut the price of Apple in half. So again, we're still above that daily trend line. They haven't taken out the low on that daily DP signal, but one to keep an eye on. We need that Apple to get back above that $500 level. If they can get back above that $500 level, hold that level, begin to work higher, and continue that prior trend, then that's when we should see the NASDAQ begin to test that wave 5, its prior wave 5 high, and kind of join the party, if you will. If this doesn't hold up, the danger is, like I said, this is the next support. You've got a lot of strength here showing to the downside on the STF. It is into that strength band on the weekly chart here. So we shall see how that gets resolved. So anyway, wish you all a good rest of your weekend. Have a great trading week, and we'll see you back on next Sunday. And next Sunday we'll cover the we'll take a look at the NQ and the decision point supports on the lower time frame, so you can see how those work. So stay tuned for that. All right, take care. We'll see you back next week.